Hey guys, welcome to the Laying Foundations podcast. This is your co-host Davis Hambrick. Joining alongside me today is Walker Lott. What's up, Walker?
What's up, dude? How's your week going?
It went great, man. What about you?
Man, it's going good. Start my last semester at school next week and
That's right.
enjoying some time at home. So it's been fun. It's just enjoying the little bit of free time that I have.
The calm before the storm.
The calm before the storm, man. That's about it. As you know, you've been through it.
All right, you'll get through it. You'll get through it.
That's right. Well, guys, we're excited for you to listen to this podcast. It's awesome, dude. His name's Will Willing. He's one of the Bible study leaders at Auburn. It's a really cool story, just incredible background that he's coming from. We don't really get into that, but if you ever have the chance to talk to him one-on-one, you'll get to learn a lot about him. So he just shares a little bit about his story. That's kind of where he came from. He grew up in Michigan, got down to Alabama. He started his own general contracting service, and we get to hear a little bit about the end, how he's kind of transitioning to a different company, something he's never done before or hasn't done in a very long time. So he's really excited about that, and has a ton of wisdom and knowledge to give us. So I can't wait for you guys to hear it. What do you think, Davis?
This is going to sound a little ironic, but the authenticity is real, which that's what
For
kind of
sure.
what authenticity means. But he is so authentic. He definitely doesn't pull any punches. He just lets it come out and
Lays
is
it out.
bold and truthful. And it's kind of refreshing, honestly, to know there's a guy out there that just wants to tell you the truth. He doesn't really care if
That's for
it
sure.
what. Not that he doesn't care what you think about it, but he's just going to tell you the truth, and he's open and honest. And I love that. But one of the biggest takeaways from this podcast was at the end, we always have our question is, what would you tell the younger generation? And what he said was, enjoy the moment. And
Hmm.
man, still being, I'm 24 years old now, and I'm still young. Obviously, you are what you feel you are. Obviously, I'm 24, I'm young, but enjoying the moment is there's not a phrase that's better put for our generation, because we're constantly on our phones, we're constantly with technology, and we constantly
Hmm.
see the people that have put in the work that are already where we want to be, and we don't enjoy the moment. Walker, you've said this to me before, was just we just got to enjoy the moment. We're gonna have a path, we're gonna work together, we're gonna have the fun, but I don't want to look back 10 years down the road and be like, what happened? Did I enjoy
Yeah.
that? So
Yeah. Tomorrow's not promised. He mentions that too. It's just enjoy every second because you never know what tomorrow holds. And I think it's true for every single person in life. Doesn't matter how old you are, from 2 years old to where you can barely know what you're doing to 99 years old to where it is some of maybe the last steps you're going to take could be any moment, just every single second of every day. Just enjoy it.
right, that's all right.
So, well, without further ado, Will Willing, welcome to the show, man. We
What's
are
up, man?
incredibly
Happy to be here.
man, dude, we're happy that you're here. We are incredibly
Yeah.
excited for it. This is a really special episode because we have gotten to know each other over the past couple of weeks, more and more, which has been awesome, and we've been wanting
Yeah.
to get you on the show. So Will is actually my Tuesday night small group leader, so that has been a ton of fun. And Will has also owned his own construction company, and so it works both ways really well. And so, but anyway, let's get started. Again, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
To
Thank
start
you.
off
Glad to be
with,
here.
uh, we already know your name, so Will Willing. But who are you? Where are you from? What do you
Yeah.
do? How'd you get started?
All right. I'll back up a little bit. I'm originally from Detroit, but I've been in Auburn, Alabama for last 11 years. I actually came down here with $1,500 and just God basically saying you need to go there. Long story becoming really short. As of now, I have a small little home remodeling contracting business. I call it Willpower Contracting. I've got 6 employees working for me right now. I'm actually dwindling them down, but we just specialize in kitchens and bathrooms. And really any home remodel. I mean, we'll slap a roof on a house that needs one. We'll do siding. It just pretty much whatever anybody wants outside of building a new house. There's too many big guys in the game who are, slapping up homes for $30 a square foot right now. And I don't think I could build a new house for under 80, 90 a square foot, and to sell it at, 110, 120 a square foot. I mean, there's just no, I can't make money there. So that's just, I'll put a whole nother addition on a house, but building a new house on a lot, that's just not my game. I'll leave that to the bigger guys. I've been around the construction industry. I mean, really since I was 13, 14 years old, and I started roofing. I got a summer job, probably the summer between my 8th and 9th grade year. And I'll just throw out there that I did not excel in school personally. Not because I was dumb, but I mean, I just hated school, and I just went for the girls, and amongst other things, like that's really all I was doing. So I did not do well in school. So that summer between my 8th and 9th grade year, at 14 years old, I guess I was, man, I was making $500 a week roofing. Now we were banging out freaking, 14-hour days, like we were getting after it. But at 14 years old to make $500 a week, and we're talking about 1996, 97, somewhere in there. So $500, shoot, wow. I remember gas was still 98 cents a gallon. You know what I mean? So y'all probably can't even remember a time when gas was that cheap.
You started working when I was born. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I started out on a roof, and, it's really funny that, by the end of that summer, I was shingling. They were bringing me up. I was becoming a shingler, kind of leaving the labor only. Like I was still laboring, but when the roof was tore off and it was time to start getting this thing done, there was a gun in my hand, and I was shingling right next to these guys that have been shingling for 20 years, 15 years. And I just remember, as a young kid, looking at these guys that were, 40, 50 years old. And this is basically all they could do was lay some shingles down. These guys were probably making, 15 to 20 bucks an hour, which, back then the minimum wage was $5.75 an hour. So, I mean, a $15 an hour job back then, that wasn't terrible. It wasn't, right. It's not the same as thinking about $15 an hour now, right? Like soon you're not gonna be able to get anybody on a roof for $15 an hour, especially with everything else that's going on in our country. But that's another story. We don't even need to go down that rabbit hole. But anyways, yes, I just remember being on the roof with these guys, and these guys, really what they were doing was working for beer money, 40, 50 years old, just waiting on that check, so that they could, go get their beer money, get their dope, whatever they were going to do. But shoot, by Monday, Tuesday, they're broke. And I just remember looking at these guys' lives and looking at what they were doing at 14, 15 years old, and just being like, man, I cannot end up like this. I can't end up like this. And, I probably stayed with roofing till I was about 18 years old. So, I mean, by that time it was a job. I was making, 15 bucks an hour, and we were getting after it. But that's what got me started and going in construction. And I've dabbled in almost every trade since then. I mean, from masonry, laying cinder block and brick, to sheetrock, to painting, to framing. I mean, there's just about everything you can think of, electrical, plumbing. And it's just throughout the years gaining all that experience. But, as hard as I tried to get away from it, I ran a personal training business for 7-8 years. I relied on my experience in the trades and my experience in construction to, when fitness wasn't paying the bills, guess what I was doing? I was doing a side painting job. I was putting a fence up. I was, whatever I could find on the side within the construction trades to make ends meet, I did. And, just kind of one thing led to another, that one day, my fitness was my bread and butter. I was real thankful behind that. God blessed me with an opportunity to start a personal training business, and it paid the bills for, a lot of years, that was my bread and butter. I was real proud of that. A few years ago, I was sitting back and I started to kind of try to grow the business. I hired someone to come work in my fitness business, and all of a sudden, like, I was kind of stepping out of the business and doing a lot more construction because I had this guy training clients for me. And one day I just looked up and I was like, man, like, my side job is crushing my bread and butter. I'm making way more money in my side job now than I am in my and what's supposed to be my main job. And I just really had to sit down and have a come to Jesus meeting about, like, okay, I need to apply myself to one of these things. I'm either gonna, stop doing any kind of side work and pour into this fitness business and grow that, or I'm gonna shut the fitness down and I'm gonna pour into contracting and try to grow that. And the more that I thought about it, it just seemed like the right move for my family to just say, you know what, well, I'm gonna be a 50-year-old personal trainer, trading out hours for money. And it just was the right move to say, you know what, let's do it. And it was by far and away the best move for sure. And there's so much more I can say to that, but ever since doing that, it's exploded. And to have 6 guys that I have access to with leadership, and I'll tell you, like, a lot of times I look at my employees as man, they're a mission field, because the same guys that I didn't want to be like when I was 14, those guys that are just working for beer money and all that type of stuff, like, that's who I'm making an impact now. That's who I'm making an impact on now. These are the guys that I have working for me now.
Right.
And these are the guys that, will look and they'll just be like, man, this is the best job I've ever had in my life. And I'm sitting here, I'm like, dude, you're a 1099 employee. But I make it joyful to show up to work. These guys can make a mistake and it's not the end of the world. Like, it might cost me money, but I look at it as a point, like, I get to be Jesus to these guys. And it's been cool to have a ministry built into what's going on. And it really is a confirmation to me from God that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. So, it's definitely been a blessing, and just being able to make that impact and take care of my family and all those types of things. But I will say it's definitely not without growing pains, for sure.
That's right. Well, I love that. I think that's pretty cool. Talking about, I wrote down 3 different things if I can, but you talked about the roofing between your 8th grade and 9th grade year as a 14 or 15-year-old. And man, that sounds like a hard summer. You're growing up, being young and laboring. Cause I've seen guys when I worked in Auburn, I used to work for a smaller home builder there, and they would be carrying shingles, like two packs of shingles up ladders. And I'm just like, man, there's no way I would be. And then you see them come back down and they're just up there all day cleaning trash, going up and down. And so I'm seeing you do that 14 years old. I'm like, good night. That guy he's a pretty strong dude.
Yeah. It takes a special, it takes a special kind of crazy to be a roofer. You know what I mean? And I don't think I possess it, because it was like one of those things where, like, it dawned on me real quickly, like, I do not want to be doing this when I'm 40, 50 years old. But I'll say that here's the thing now. I'll do a roof now real quick, because believe it or not, it's one of my biggest profits. Like, I make more money off of roofs than I make in a lot of other jobs that I do, because no one freaking wants to do it, and a lot of people don't trust people doing it. But, I, depending on what the roof is, I did it was just a little 20 square house that burnt down. But I had got the job. It's a long story short how I got the job. But one of the things that needed to be done was the whole front of the house needed to be reframed up. The whole roof system needed to be reframed. And then it needed a whole new roof throughout. And so me and these guys that I got who, really don't know much about anything, we did this roof, and I laid every single shingle on this roof. And that's one of the things that I definitely want to, I definitely, what's the word I'm looking for? I definitely want this to come across that, as the boss, as a guy who is, you know, drawing authority over other men, the one thing that I always want to get across to my guys is that I'm never, ever, ever going to ask you to do something that I wouldn't do myself. And so when they see me up there lugging bundles up ladders and laying that, like, I didn't trust them to lay the shingles, right? But I did trust them to, you know, when we're cutting a ridge or we're cutting a hip or something, to make sure I don't have to clean up a freaking shingle at all. You know, like, I'm paying you, and if you're not cleaning, you're standing around. So let's clean. Let's make sure I've got shingles all the time. And it wasn't a big house. Like I said, it was a 20 square roof. But you know, right up there with my guys laying it down, and you know, that's where we made our money. You know, at the end of the day, I'm walking away is definitely not $15 an hour. Let me put it to you like that. You know,
That's
and
right.
so I don't mind roofing when it's like, oh man, I just made $3,500 in 2 days. Shoot, I got to figure out a way to do that every 2 days.
That's
You
right.
know, but but yeah, but doing it $15 an hour now that's for the birds. I'm not gonna lie.
That's right.
Probably wouldn't do that nowadays.
Yeah.
Just to be honest.
Well, I love what you said though.
But
Going back
thank God
to,
for, because you know, having those guys around, we got to have them.
sorry, I think we lost you there. You know, I love what you said back, you know, a few minutes ago. You said that, you know, I can't end up like this. And from my time, when I was in school, you know, so I don't know, you don't know much about me, but I'm not from Auburn, but I went to the building science program. You know, I worked in construction in Auburn, and during every semester I was working. Summer, you know, during school, and a lot of times I worked for home builders. And I remember doing some of those days, and I'm just like,
Yeah,
man, I can't end up like this. I'm not gonna be doing this.
day in, day out. Yeah,
That's right. And it's just like it's a constant grind, but it's good to see it at this age, because now you have a sight forward to go, hey, you know what? I know where I want to go, because I can't do this the rest of my life, but I'm glad I went through it.
yeah. It always give you a perspective, not to be a dick to those guys that are doing it. You know what I mean? But um, definitely remember, you know, summers of 12-hour days, scorching heat on top of them roofs. Or I just remember it. I remember it. And you know, I actually am a little bit upset at myself, because I think I might not be in shape to handle that anymore. I don't know. I like it. Part of me wants to find out. Like, I just need to take a summer and just 12-hour days of laying shingles and humping bundles and seeing if I can make it. But you know, that who needs to work out when that's what's going on, you know?
That's fair. So, Will, you mentioned that you're slowly starting to decrease some of your employees. What is your plans with that, and ultimately with your company?
Well, you know, you bring up something that's kind of it's an excitingly sore subject for me, I guess would be the best way that I could put it. But let me back up and give some backstory on what's going on first and foremost. So I'm basically an 8th grade educated guy. Okay. Didn't go to school, didn't go to college. But that doesn't mean I'm dumb. I read well.
Right.
I learned the math. I learned the math that I needed.
From someone that knows you, you are definitely not dumb. You are
That's right.
very, very bright. That's for sure.
Well, and it's, you know, I learned what I needed from school, right? Like they're not teaching the things in school that you need anymore. But like, again, I don't want to get off on that rabbit trail. But I mean, by 8th grade, I had the algebra that I needed. I had the geometry that I needed, and I had the multiplication, division, like the stuff that's necessary to be in these trades, to be able to figure out, you know, how many materials how much materials am I going to need to complete this job? What's it going to cost? Like all those types of things that you just got to have, you know what I mean? And it's basic math, but at the end of the day, man, there's a lot of people that can't do it. It's kind of nuts to think about. But anyways, you know, I'm essentially on paper an 8th grade educated guy. All right. Now I love to learn. I teach myself all the time. I read all the time. But I don't have documents to prove that, hey, I've learned some things, if you know what I mean. And so I was always pretty convinced that if I ever wanted to make six figures in my life, like if I was ever going to make $100,000 a year in my life, that wasn't something that was going to happen by an employer hiring me, because I just, there's, I'm not the kind of guy that you think about, oh yeah, that's $100,000 a year guy that I'm going to hire. Now, when people meet me and they start dealing with me, they're like, man, you would benefit my job, my company well. But usually by then I've already started my own business and I'm moving, because I came to realize that the only way I'm going to make any money is I got to work for myself. I can't keep making other people rich by the fruits of my labor. I'm gonna have to work for myself. And it's hard. I mean, I wear every hat there is right now. I'm the salesman. I'm the estimator. I'm the guy that's swinging a hammer. I'm the guy that's marketing, getting out there.
Yeah.
I'm the guy that's dealing with the customer. I'm the project manager. I'm the technician. I'm
Right.
the guy that the inspector. I mean, the amount of hats, like it's I wear a ton of hats right now. But I did have an opportunity came up where I had a builder who is doing some big things. It's a fairly new company as far as you would think about a builder that's doing millions of dollars worth of revenue.
Right.
The guy is a lot younger than me who owns the company, and you know, I've been watching him grow, and he's actually an Auburn grad. He graduated from Auburn and hit the ground running with this company. And so he's about 13, 14 years in on it, but the guy's 31 years old, 32 years old, something like that. But he caught wind of my name, and they're a growing company, and they threw out a project manager position to me with an offer that, to be quite honest, I didn't think was possible for me to ever receive.
That's cool.
Yeah. So anyways, it put me in a position where I was like, wow, the one thing that I thought could never happen has just kind of happened. And you know, knowing my wife, and you know, when you're a contractor on your own, it's feast or famine. I mean, you have months where it's like, man, I done did, you know, $35,000 worth of work this month, and then the next month you're like, oh man, I've got $2,500 worth of work. You know what I mean? And that's not even profit. That's just work. You know.
Right.
And so it is feast or famine, and it's really hard to know when it's going to come and when it's not. And I think that's part of, you know, my hope and my trust in my heavenly Father. That's always running, because I'm gonna be quite honest, I've never spent $1 on marketing. I just get out there, do a good job when I get an opportunity, and that person tells somebody about it. And then you know, just really just doing my best to walk in integrity at all times. You'd be surprised how far just some integrity goes in the industry that we're talking about, right? You know, relating back to the 40, 50-year-old guys who are just working for beer money and are sketchy as all get out. Let's just be honest. But if you carry yourself with some integrity, and actually, let me just take the word some out of there, with a ton of integrity, you can almost do bad work and people would be okay just because they want to be able to trust someone in their home, you know? So, but anyways, that's another deal. But yeah, it's been bittersweet to, you know that this position is on the horizon. My wife and I have prayed about it, and we did accept the position, and he gave me a good amount of time to be able to button up the projects that we're in the middle of, which is a good thing. Because I really, again, integrity would not have allowed me to just walk away from those projects to accept this position. If he'd have been like, I need you to start tomorrow, or you can't have this job, it'd have been like, I'm sorry, that's just an impossibility. I cannot leave these projects unbuttoned. That's just not okay with my soul, with my spirit, and just with how you do people. You know what I mean? It's just, that would have been selfish. But he was like, no, man, definitely get them buttoned up and let me know. So I've definitely let my employees know, hey, this is what's going on. if I want y'all to be out there looking for something, I don't want to leave y'all stranded.
Right.
Which, because you feel a burden for your employees when that their meal going on the table, that's reliance on you.
Yeah,
That's
that's
you're
right.
not it's not just my family I'm feeding right now. So and I don't know that everybody looks at it like that, but I certainly do. So
That's right. Well, Will, what are you most excited about in this new part of your life that you're going to?
I'm excited. I don't know if I want to put this out there in the air, but I'm really excited to learn where I've been missing it. And I don't know that this
That's good.
job
Yeah.
I'm taking on. I mean, right now, as I sit here talking to you, there's no way I see myself doing this job for 10, 15, 20 years. There's no way. One of the things about my life and about me is I just don't do well with limits. I mean, I serve a heavenly Father who is, I mean, he's limits are he's the limit. And so when there's like these ceilings that are put over top of my head, like, and there's room for advancement, but you're never going to get past this one spot. Man, it doesn't always sit well with me. I like goals and to achieve and all those types of things. And not to say that those opportunities are not possible. They are. There's a whole nother, like they've got goals set down. Like, we want to see you achieve these, build you 50 houses in a year. And I'm like, man, that's like a house a week. But that's I would love to pull that off, and we'll see. But like, if I build this guy 50 houses in a week, I get my salary, he's super rich, right? So it's kind of those things. But what I'm excited about is to learn, because I have watched this guy for about the last 6-7 years, and I've watched him grow from a guy who was buying up a lot, building a home on that lot, a gorgeous home, beautiful home, custom home, and then just selling it and being happy with whatever he gets from it, and doing well because he put out a great product, to now this guy is buying up acres and putting street lighting, all of the mechanical, all of the power, all of the water lines, all of the sewer lines, like, we're on a whole nother level, of what this guy's doing. And so I'm excited to get in there and see the systems and the processes, and what is he doing so well. Because I'm gonna be honest, and this is not a dig by any stretch of the imagination, right? I think this guy is getting it done with project managers who are coming out of Auburn University with building science degrees, but have never swung a hammer before in their life. And these guys are excelling. They're doing well. And from where I sit, I'm like, how? This is crazy. I'm impressed by that. How are you doing that? How are you taking guys who have sat down in a classroom and saw this stuff in a book? Because, I mean, if you asked them to physically build the house, they couldn't do it. They absolutely couldn't do it. But they're coming out with the ability to manage the folks who are actually
Right.
swinging the hammers, using the tools. Like, it's cool. I like it. I mean, I'm excited to see how he's gotten to the point to where this construction company, this home builder, has real estate agents on staff. He's got mortgage brokers that are in-house. I'm talking about salary on the payroll of the construction company, mortgage brokers in there, architects. Like, we're talking about high level employees that work in-house. You just don't see that very often in home builders. A home builder, a contractor, is usually going to go pay an architect for 4 or 5 different floor plans, and then boom, we've got that. And then he's going to outsource all of the real estate. Like, he'll just go to a real estate agency and say, hey, I've got these 25 houses in this neighborhood. What kind of rate are y'all going to give me to sell these houses for me? But he's gone a whole nother route, and I'm impressed about that. I'm also excited to not have to wear so many hats. There's guys that I'm not going to have to go and measure up for materials anymore. Like, I'm just going to be handed a packet that says, here's your framing package. This is what you're going to need. Here's your budget. This is the budget you have to build this house in. Oh, by the way, here's the subs we usually like to use. We need you to schedule. Like, my job is going to be to schedule everything out and then make sure it gets done according to that schedule and within budget. I'm going to go home at 5 o'clock every day and leave the job there. It's going to be nice to wear a hat instead of all of them. So I'm excited for all those things above.
No, I mean, I think that's awesome. And you touched on it. It's just, I think that your experience in the construction industry is going to be highly valuable to you going forward. And I love what you're saying. It's like, you see a lot of people doing some things. I just don't understand the process that they're doing. And then you talked about the Auburn building science, coming out and just be able to manage. And that's really what construction is.
Hey, kudos to Auburn University that they're putting out guys that can do this, all right?
They crank
War
them out.
Eagle. No hatred there. I mean, I married an Auburn grad, so we definitely holler War Eagle. But it's strange to me of thinking about, to me, an ounce of experience will kill all day long what you can learn in a book, except for when it comes to management, when it comes to being able to lead in those types of ways. Like I said, you took these guys and you put them out there in the field, they wouldn't know the first thing about how to dig out a plot to lay a slab. They wouldn't know the first thing about putting a roof on. But
we talked about this, the management portion of things. That's really what construction is just managing risk pretty much. But going on a little bit further than that, in your opinion, what do you think makes a good leader? What is kind of your opinion of why some people are better leaders than others, and what their characteristics are?
Well, I mean, I think I want to focus on what I think makes a good leader. And what I think makes a good leader is someone that when you're willing to do something and the people that are supposed to be following you see that what you're asking them to do, you'll do as well. That's what leading by example. I mean, that's right. The best. That's my leadership style. It does get exhausting, but the best leaders are the ones who care. Is what I'll say. When you look at people as people who carry value, who have the imprint of God on them, no matter how jacked up or whacked out they might be, or hard to lead they might be, when you see them as having value instead of a resource to be exploited, I'll say that if I ever had a huge company, one department I would not have is a human resource department. I would have something similar, but it would not be called human resource. It just is, it rubs me completely the wrong way of thinking about people as you're just simply a resource that I'm using to exploit and make a profit or whatever. That just rubs me the wrong way. So I think leading by example and giving the God-given value to people, that's what's going to make a good leader. That's what's going to make people want to work for you, want to do well, want to, say, you know what, I'm going to sacrifice for the cause of what's going on. And people are much more likely to do that when they see that in their leader. And I would definitely use Jesus as the example of the one who is worthy of all of our service. And yet, the night that he was betrayed, took a towel and washed all the disciples' feet when really he was the one worthy to have his feet washed. And, I could go on and on and on about that. But if you really want to know what makes a good leader and what I think makes a good leader, look only to Jesus and then try to do that. Good.
That's right. And you just pointed me and just get out my Bible because you said something. But so the servant leader portion, or leading by example, that makes me think of Jesus, obviously. But being a servant leader. And something I came across the other day, I wrote it down on my phone. It's Philippians 2, and I read it, and it just struck me a different way than what I thought before. You know, sometimes the Holy Spirit, he puts it on you in a different way. But I think I've read over this, but I read it and it goes, who being in very nature, God did not consider equality with God something to be used in his own advantage. Rather, he made himself nothing by taking the very nature of a servant and being made in human likeness, and being found in appearance as a man, he humbled himself by becoming obedient to death, and even death to a cross. And I mean,
Yeah.
you hear that, and I know us three, we're believers, and it's easiest for us to understand that. But people who don't know, like, literally think about a God that knows everything, that's sovereign over everything, and he's going to make himself a human and then come to our level and be a servant to us. That's
Yeah.
absolutely crazy.
And think about the people that he was telling it to. Like you say, it's like, it's easy for us to say, yeah. Well, I mean, Jesus was talking to people that had never heard this before. You know what I mean?
Right.
So what he was doing was so far fetched from where they're talking about. Kings got served, kings got bowed down to, kings got all the best stuff, and the one true king was no, I'm coming to lay my life down as a sacrifice for my people. That's huge. But as you talked about, Jesus looking at being equal with God is not something that should have been taken advantage of, right? Even though he was equal with God, we also see scripture that says, let this mind be in you, which was also in Christ. Like, put on the mind of Christ and start to think this way. And it helps you to remain humble. So yeah, servant leader, humble leader,
Right.
one who leads by example, one who will sacrifice and do the weird stuff, and that's one of the coolest things that I think, and this is not for accolades, but I'm just going to kind of share testimonies. Like, I've had some pretty rough dudes working for me who couldn't cut it in other places just because they're jacked up, but I would have them say stuff to me like, man, you're just the best. Like, no one else would give me another shot right here. And I'm like, trust me, I don't want to either, but there's something about you that I love, that the Father loves, that is just saying, look, Jesus gave me another shot. He's gonna look on this as, in as much as you've done to the least of these, my brother, and you've done unto me. Sometimes it looks very radical, but it's really just the normal spot that a believer should be operating in as much as you've done to the least of these. It does look a little radical to the world to walk with Jesus. If it doesn't, you may or may not be walking with Jesus. But anyways, that's a whole nother story right there.
Another rabbit hole, huh?
Yeah, we could get down a whole bunch of them, boy.
That's for sure.
There you go. And
believe you me.
Will, I love what you're saying, and we talk about the experiences you've had. To me, you don't look all that old, but you're talking about having 20 or something plus years of experience. But having all these, having all these experiences in construction, what would you say to a young guy, maybe a guy that was like you in 8th and 9th grade, trying to figure out construction? Do I want to go into this industry? Do I not? What are some values you would tell him, or something you would tell him to get into construction?
Well, so I have a 18-year-old high school senior that's working for me right now, and it's kind of cool because COVID has allowed this, right? I quit doing COVID a long time ago. Again, that's another rabbit hole we could go down. But anyways, he had the choice early on this year whether he's an athlete as well. He plays football for Auburn, played in their state championship where they just laid an egg. Oh my goodness, we don't even need to talk about
Thompson, go Warriors, baby. That's
right. What about it? Now you know that wasn't supposed to happen. You know that wasn't supposed to happen.
There was awesome.
Oh my goodness, we had to talk about that. I didn't know that was your alma mater.
That's right.
But anyways, he also runs track. And it's been awesome that he actually made the legitimate choice after the summer to say, do school online. And they had the choice whether to be in person or online. All right. And he grappled with it because he wanted to be in person, but all of a sudden it hit him. And he's like, man, if I can do all my online stuff and work a job and be able to start having some savings together for college, like, that is uncommon in our young people. Okay, that's what I'm going to say. First and foremost, like, that's an uncommon thought pattern for an 18-year-old high school kid to have nowadays, right? So what I would say to a lot of young people is we're doing stuff. We'll be working with some insulation and it sucks. You're getting it in your eyes, all in your skin. It's like, oh, this is horrible. And it's like, yeah. And I always throw out the joke, like, just stay in school, man. That way you don't end up old like me having to mess with insulation or whatever. But the fact is our trades are so understaffed right now. There's about 4 different businesses you could start right now and have more work than you would know what to do with in 2 weeks in the trades. If you started the business right now, these are just things I know, right? And I know that everybody thinks, well, I just need to go to college and I'm going to make a bunch of money. And I'm like, if you just take the money that you're going to spend in college and buy you a truck, a trailer, and some tools, you're going to make way more money than you're ever going to make spending 4 years spending money, first off. But at the end of 4 years and gaining the experience and the knowledge, that's a whole other thing we're getting into. Let me go off. I started in the construction industry because it was necessity. Okay. So I don't know if y'all, I don't even know if they still do this. Do they still do like work permits for if you're like 14 or 15 and you want to go get a job at like Publix, right?
I think you can at 15 or something. I think Publix is like one of the only people that does it. But I could be completely wrong. I have no idea.
Yeah, I remember it being a common thing when I was growing up that like everybody was trying to turn 15 because then they could go get a work permit and get a summer job and they could work so many hours a week,
right,
like during the summer. And then when school was in, you were only allowed to work like 10 hours a week or something along those lines. I went into construction because it was the one job that I could go into where they didn't give a dang about any of that. I remember I made a phone. When I took that roofing job, it happened because I needed a job. I mean, I grew up with a single mom who did what she could, but man, we missed meals. You know what I mean? And a lot of it was necessity. A lot of it was like, my mom's working a job. I need to work. I need to work. Just flat out, plain and simple. And I called a number in the newspaper. Yeah, newspaper. Like we didn't have all these job sites where everything's just like in one spot. Like, you got to find a newspaper and go get different newspapers because the job might not be advertised in all the newspapers. Every newspaper's got different jobs, but there was one that was advertising for roofing laborers or whatever, and it said that the starting pay was $10 an hour, which that's when the minimum wage was $6.25, $5.75, $10 an hour. Shoot, you couldn't tell me nothing. That was the goal. $10 an hour was the goal. And I called the number, and they just said, all they said over the phone was, be here at 6:30 tomorrow morning. Shoot, okay. And I showed up at 6:30 that morning, and the owner looked at me and said, pick a truck. And I picked the truck, got in there, and went out, and man, they ran me through the ringer. I'm not even gonna lie. They had me doing stuff that, looking back now, I'm like, there was absolutely no reason to do that. They were just trying to
see. The new guy.
Yeah, well, I found out, later on, but they were just trying to see, is this guy going to stay around? Is he going to stay around? Can we put him through the ringer and have him not complain and do what we need him to do?
I've been through that.
And so it for me, it started out with necessity. It wasn't like I was sitting around like, man, my dreams and aspirations had nothing to do with the trades in the construction industry, right? Like I wanted to play in the NFL. I wanted to fly fighter jets. Those are my dreams, right? Far cry from roofing, swinging hammers or whatever. So I don't know. It's, for me, it was necessity. It's hard for me to envision a young person that's like, I really want to go into the trades. Now, I've got 4 boys that are growing up. My oldest boy is 9. I've got my third boy. He's 4. And I do this thing where every once in a while, I'll just walk by him and I ask him, what do you want to do when you grow up, son? And, my oldest boy, he's like me. He wants to play in the NFL. He wants to play baseball, and, that's what he does. He runs around, he practices, and he's just convinced he's going to go pro. And I'm gonna encourage him on in that, but at the same token, we're going to keep it real. You know what I mean? But my third boy, when I asked him, he said, Daddy, I want to be a worker like you. So I want to be a worker like you. And, I look at that, and there's weird things that happen in my heart right there. And those weird things are, oh man, so you want to be a worker like me. I'm like honored, and also at the same token, like I understand all these parents that are like, no, you have to go to college. You have to go to college. You have to go to college. But then I catch myself and I'm like, you're an idiot. Like, no, you don't have to. This would be a great move for you, actually. And if you really, really like it, then that's a big deal. So what I would say to the young person is, I would say to the young person to keep your options open, but weigh them in reality. Weigh them in reality. Because there's really, the reason why you see, winos and drunk dudes and a lot of drug addicts that end up in our industry is because it's the one place where you can gain some experience, get good at one thing, and make a lot of money doing that with no formal schooling but experience, right? Like a painter, when you think about it, like painting is one of those funny things, but whenever you meet a painter, it doesn't matter who, like a guy who paints every day, these guys are jacked up dudes most of the time. They're jacked up dudes, man. It takes, like, it's so stereotypical, like, to meet a painter and you're just like, they're either Hispanic, really, really hard workers that can knock some stuff out, or they're freaking drug addicts through and through. But these guys can go in and make thousands of dollars in 2, 3, 4 days. You know what I mean? And then not have to work for, a week, and then get another job and go make a couple $1,000s in 2, 3, 4 days. What degree does that? What degree gives you that kind of money, that kind of flexibility? Imagine if you're not a drunk, if you're not a dope fiend, and you go into it with, a plan and a purpose and a goal, and it's all laid out on paper and it's all ready to go, and you execute that plan. Man, if a freaking drug addict can go make thousands of dollars in a few days, imagine what's going to happen when you're calculating,
applying yourself. That's right.
You're applying, you're plotting, you're planning. Man, big things can happen. So what I would say to the young person is don't think that it's college or bust, school or bust. The trades are a big deal. I got a friend right now, he's my plumber, and man, dude he's killing it. But I mean, he started out plumbing as an apprentice for $8 an hour. He's a young dude now, but man, he picked it up. And now he's got 3 vans running. It's hard. Like, I used to be able to call him and he'll be like, I'll be there tomorrow. And now he's like, man, I'm not. You got to get in the schedule, man. I'm 2 weeks booked out. I'm 3 weeks booked out. And I mean, he is rolling, and he's the best plumber I know. He's a good plumber. And I just love seeing what he's doing. His biggest problem right now is he can't find guy. Like, all he wants to do is find a guy or a youngster that is going to show up to work every day, that's going to, learn, do what he asks, And man, I guarantee within 6-7 months, that dude's in a van running a crew, all that type of stuff. So, that's just one example. But that's my advice to young people. Don't think it's one way or bust.
Right. And one thing, Will, before Walker closes us out, when we were talking about Thompson and Auburn, just Will,
Gosh.
Google Walker Light, see what pops up. You'll be surprised.
Nah, don't do that.
Oh, that's about to happen. That's
Don't
about to happen. Will you all state till you blew out your shoulder or something?
No, don't do that one. Oh, but anyway, man. Like David said, we're getting to the end of it, but we like to ask.
There's probably a relation to Ronnie Lott. That's what it is.
No, I've been asked that many times. And Walker Texas Ranger. Is that like Walker Texas Ranger? It's like, yeah, that's my name, but not like him.
Chuck Norris.
He's a lot cooler than I
am. Chuck Norris.
Chuck Norris.
Shoot,
man.
Yeah. Okay.
But man, this is my favorite question we like to ask, and it's something I honestly can't wait to hear your answer. And it's what with the knowledge and wisdom that you have now, you're going on. You said what? 38, 39, 38. I knew it. I was right. That was quick math. And so you have a lot of life experience, and you've been through a lot of things. So you have a ton of wisdom to give. So with the knowledge and wisdom that you have now, what is some advice that if you could go back and give your 20-year-old self, what would you say to yourself?
Enjoy the moments. Enjoy the moments, because I've never been a guy that lives in the future. I guess I've always been a guy that is keenly aware that this next moment's not promised and tomorrow's not promised. And so let's make the most out of what we got. I think wisdom has dictated to me to where I'm at now is I still think like that. I still operate like that. I still, live and move and have my being with the understanding that ultimately my life is in God's hands. And I trust that, and I hope in that. And I'm looking forward to the day that I don't have to battle with this sinful flesh. But the way that I did it back then, with wisdom now, it's like, well, it's probably not a bad idea to save a little bit of money. I don't need to just I'm not promised tomorrow. Let's empty the bank account today. And then, there's just not wisdom in that. But there is wisdom in not getting caught up in, the anxiety and the stress about what if I don't amount to anything, or what if I don't, what about the future? Right. I think if you stay focused on enjoying the next breath and trying to make the most of that moment, man, you're going to have a really, really fulfilled life. And I would like to tell my 20-year-old self that, I think I lived in a spot of, it's funny because looking at myself when I was 20 that's not a person that exists anymore. But that 20-year-old, he definitely lived for the moment in the wrong way. It was very selfish, and let's waste it on myself. Whereas now I live for the moment with urgency for others. This life doesn't matter to me per se, but it matters in what's to come. Right. And so many of you are living in the idea of this is all there is. And with that being in the mindset of who we are, I would like to go back and be make the most of the moment instead of wasting it on selfish ambition.
Yeah.
Boom.
Good,
there it is.
It's really good.
And I love that. Sorry, Walker, I know we're about to close, but
no, man, go for it.
I was listening to Steve Farrar. He's talking about Nehemiah this week in a men's Bible study, and he brings the Old Testament to life. But One of the parts he was talking about Nehemiah, he was just talking about the trials that he was going through while they were building the wall. But he got to that point with, if you're still breathing, God's got a plan for you and he's got work for you. So take this moment like you said, enjoy the moment, but God's got work for you to do.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I love that.
Yeah.
I love it.
Absolutely.
That's awesome, man. This has been a ton of fun, and
It has.
I've learned a vast amount. Gained a lot, and honestly, I believe I gained a lot of wisdom in it. So, man, we really appreciate you being on here. Thank you for sharing a little bit about your life and who you are.
Look at you young folks, man, doing podcasts and all this other type of stuff, man. This is pretty fantastic. Like
we appreciate
I just can't imagine 20, 21, 22 years old being like, let's do a construction podcast. Fantastic, man. I'm proud of y'all.
That's awesome.
Thanks,
man. We appreciate it. Thank you, Will.
Yes, sir.